Hello and welcome to I Heart Cooking. I am registered dietitian Jennifer Stachler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are brought to you by WCTV, RPNL, and Reid Health Community Benefits. Today on I Heart Cooking, we're going to be talking about healthy desserts. So today on I Heart Cooking, we are going to be talking about healthy desserts. It's something we don't do a lot of desserts on I Heart Cooking or in our other cooking classes that we do throughout the community. It's one we always get asked a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something, especially depending on the time of year, we like to incorporate some of these different desserts. Most of the desserts we're looking at adding fruit, kind of possibly decreasing added sugars, different ways of making things that you typically would think are not as a healthy bracket, but kind of putting them into there. Again, types of foods you don't want to eat every day at every single meal, but definitely can enjoy on occasion and still enjoy some type of dessert aspect. So the two we're doing today is going to be a bread pudding. And you can see all the different things we have out here for the bread pudding. And we're also going to be doing a stuffed kind of broiled peach there too.
Yep.
So again, we're dealing with some fruits here, so we'll get into this bread pudding so we can get that in the oven, get it started cooking, or baking, I should say. And we're going to be starting off with a nice whole grain bread product, which is going to add that health component there because we're adding extra fiber, extra grains into there versus just a regular white kind of bread.
Right, and you know, we're using the fat-free milk instead of like the sweetened condensed.
Absolutely,
we're definitely taking out fats there. There's a lot of things here that make it a whole lot healthier than the normal.
So a lot of times we're, like Dugan said, we're decreasing the fats, which will decrease those calories, but we're also increasing some of that fiber component because of the whole wheat bread and the apples we're adding into this.
Right. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to start with the eggs. Everything here is getting mixed into a bowl. You're going to mix it with your hands, put it in your pan, your pie pan or whatever you're going to use to bake it, and you put it in the oven. 350, maybe a half an hour, 40 minutes. It doesn't take that long, but it is a super simple dessert. You know, it's great for parties. You mix this all together and put it in about 40 minutes before people start showing up, so that when they open the door, it smells just
delicious.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So, and everybody thinks then, you know, you're an amazing cook. So, absolutely. What we're doing actually is using a whole egg and an egg white. You can use the shell to take the egg apart, but it's so jagged and it's sharp, so it increases that possibility that you're going to break it.
Yep.
You can also use your fingers. I myself like to use my fingers because it's just, I'm better. I have a better feel for it. An easier thing even than that is to crack it straight into the bowl that you're using and then just either get a spoon or a gloved hand like I'm doing now and pull that yolk out. So then you're left with just the white. So very easily just get rid of
and that's easier to do when you have fresher eggs too, because the older the egg is, the more likely that yolk might break on you too.
Right.
It's not going to make a big difference when you're making this bread pudding. The reason we're taking out that egg yolk is just to reduce some of the fat and cholesterol in there. Again, making it more of a heart-healthy healthier dish for you.
Now we're taking our whole grain bread. Very easy. We got about six slices here, and we're just going to cut it into squares.
Yep.
You know, manageable squares. You don't want anything too big because you want to be able to, hit it with a spoon or a fork and then be able to fit in your mouth. So obviously the easiest thing to do when you're wondering about how big you want to cut them, just make sure that it'll fit in your mouth. And then, you've answered your own question.
You've heard us talk in past episodes about, Dugan and I both have young kids at home. This is a great way to get the kids involved because you can give them the bread while you're doing the rest of this and just have them kind of break it up themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And they feel like they're part of that cooking aspect. And again, you're teaching them how to cook, you're incorporating the lessons about healthy eating, what you're putting into recipes. So that's something they could sit there and break it apart for you. And it makes it fun for you to spend time with the kiddos too. Grandkids are great to do with this as well. But yeah, just getting them involved.
I've also found that it's a lot, there's a higher percentage that they're actually going to eat it if they're a picky kid.
Oh, absolutely.
If they help make it. So, you know, things like chicken and all that, my kids used to not be able to really eat it. They didn't like it. But then when they're in there helping me cook and do all that stuff and they see it and they're a part of the process, then they're really excited when it's sitting in front of them. They want to try it because, you know, that's what they made. So
absolutely.
Easy to do.
And we've done those before, and numerous other kind of community cooking classes have done cooking classes for the kids, trying to get them there and involved. They might not be always doing hands-on, but the nice thing is, it's not mom or dad or a grandparent trying to get them to try something new. They see us make it, we bring it up to them and ask them, hey, try it, and they're more likely to try it too, just because they are involved in the process, hearing what's put into there, hearing us talk about it and trying it.
Right.
So we do have those things available with other cooking classes that Dugan and I do within the community.
Absolutely. So we cut our bread, and you'll notice I put in there also brown sugar, put some cinnamon, some clove, cranberries, and we're going to cut up some apples here. Now, I would say cut the apples pretty similar to the size of the bread, because what's going to happen is there's a whole lot of moisture in here, and the longer that it sits in that oven, they're going to shrivel up and they're going to shrink. So by the end of the cooking process, they're actually going to be smaller, a little more manageable to eat. But if you want that flavor, the larger pieces, when they shrink, are going to intensify that apple flavor.
Yep.
So.
Great tip. And keeping the skins on too,
Yeah.
because most of the nutrients on the apple are found right within the skin, or right underneath that skin. So a lot of times when you're peeling an apple, or if you even think of like a sweet potato, or most things that have peelings, most of those nutrients, actually a majority of them, are right beneath that skin. So once you peel that off, you're losing out on all those vitamins and minerals that we would find essential for our health. So this is a great recipe to include that skin on there.
Yeah, and keeping the skin on as well, kind of, it's a glue. It holds it all together. So as it cooks, the apples get soft. You know, if you cook it too long, it gets super soft and really mushy. Well, that skin's going to hold everything together on there, so it's never going to go away. So
two great tips to keep the skin on.
absolutely. Just real quick to show you kind of what I'm doing. I didn't really explain. I'm just cutting around the core. This is just an easy, fast way to do this. You get the flat side here, so it's not going to roll, it's not going to move on you. And you just cut around the core. Get that one, you turn it, you cut, turn. So then what you're left with is the core. There's a little bit left in there, you know, in the pieces here. If you really want to get picky, you can chop all those out, but you don't necessarily have to.
We always, we don't talk too much about it, but a lot of times when you cook at home, you sometimes are trying the foods, you're taste testing them. You're getting a lot of empty calories there sometimes trying that. One nice thing about this recipe, if you can actually nibble on the leftover apples over there, you're getting a fruit intake. It's a healthy kind of snack there for you. Or a lot of times when I'm doing that, I always give those little pieces to my kids. Again, they're in the kitchen helping. I'm like, I'm okay with you eating an apple. That's a lot better than eating, you know, something else that might be done. You're snitching on that. You don't really need those extra calories for it.
Yeah, that's what I do with mine. They really like apple slices. They're not a huge fan of the whole apples yet. So I'll cut these, and then that's my own little treat for all my hard work cutting up in an apple here.
Oh yeah. I say one thing that's similar I find to the apples, a lot of times when I'm cooking with peppers, my kids actually love peppers, especially when I'm doing the yellow, the red, the orange. So a lot of times when I'm using most of the pepper and there's just a little bit left over, my kids are eating that. And I never say no to that because it's a vegetable. They could eat as much as they want of those peppers, and I would never say no.
Absolutely.
Great way to reduce waste actually with your food at the same time, thinking of those different ideas on how to use the whole entire component of the food you're using.
Okay, so I'm going to put some gloves on here. We're going to add our fat-free milk, and that's it. That's all there is to the bread pudding. Your egg, your 1 egg yolk is your binder. Going to keep everything together in there. And so you want to make sure that you mix it up really well. You can use spoons. Again, I like using my hands because I know, I can get in the cracks. I can make sure everything's coated properly. I can see where everything is when I use my hands. So just going to open up this milk, pour it in there.
Yeah, also, who doesn't love less dishes, too?
Yeah, exactly. and that's it. Just mix it up. You can see that egg yolk, the little yellow in there, and the whites from the egg whites. Just going to toss to incorporate everything. Do we have that cooking spray up here? This will also help with cleanup.
Yep, just spray it a little bit.
Yeah, that bread's getting nice and soft. It's absorbing all that milk and the egg. All those spices are collecting on it. You can see it on the apple. There's little spots, little specks of cinnamon. Something you can add to this, really simple sliced almonds. You can do walnuts. You can do pecans. If you're a fan of any sort of nut, that's a great textural element to add to this.
Absolutely, and it actually will provide a little protein in with this besides the eggs and good healthy fats too.
All right, so we're in there. We'll just spread it out. And like we said, 350, half hour. You know, you can check it in a half hour. If you think it needs to go a little longer, you can. But it'll be ready. So we're going to go ahead and put it in.
So while the bread pudding's baking in the oven, we're going to move on to our next recipe, which I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that we're going to be doing a stuffed peach. And we actually are going to stuff it with like a blueberry compote and with some cream cheese in there. So, and then we're going to broil at the end. I'm really excited about this.
Absolutely. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to cut through our peaches, open them up, take the seed out. And then after that, we're actually going to make our filling, our blueberry filling. So a lot like the avocados that you've seen in other episodes, you just take your knife and you can go through until you find it, roll it around, and they should slide right off. You've got the seed there, you can pop that seed out. You'll want to make sure, I use a knife sometimes, you can use a spoon to get under there, and especially for this dish, it may not be a bad idea to use a spoon, because you can go deeper into that peach and create a larger cavity to add more of that filling into. So just add more flavor to it instead of just on the top. Makes it real simple. But yeah, just cutting around it. You can use your finger. Like I said, you can get a spoon, something like that, just to get underneath there and kind of pull it out. You want to use, obviously, some pretty firm peaches for this because it is going to be a little bit of work to get these out of here. And if you're using soft peaches, they'll fall apart on you as you do it. So there, we're almost there. Just getting in there. It's like performing surgery on a peach or something here. There we go. Leave you with a real nice cavity in there.
Because again, we're going to be stuffing those, so that's where you want that opening within there.
Okay, so now that we have our peaches done, we've sprayed our pan with nonstick spray. We're just going to sit those on top of there. Really important to spray it with nonstick spray because we are broiling this. So what that means is essentially we're going to put it at the top of our oven, really high heat, so it's going to cook and really kind of cook pretty fast, the top of it. And that high heat's going to really make that stick on the bottom if we don't spray it. So just make sure you get it really well. And then that's it for that step.
Yep. And now we're going to go on to that blueberry compote. So we have a pan warming up on medium-high here. We're going to start adding some of our blueberries here. We're not going to add them all at one time. Just the first step is just adding a little bit.
Yeah. Good number's about half. What you want it to do is start blistering. What that blistering is going to do is open up that skin, get the sugars, get that moisture out of there, really create kind of that sauce, that liquid that you come to associate with compote.
Absolutely.
It's also going to blend really well with the cream cheese. So just going to let that go. You know, you get some blue in there. We'll see it start to wilt and start to pop. Then we'll just mix it around and go from there. So we've created our sauce here.
Yep. And you can see kind of how they've broken down and the blueberries are in there. So we're going to add the other blueberries in there as well. And a little bit of sugar as well to kind of get that sweetness there.
just going to mix this together. That's all we're going to do, and then we're going to add our cream cheese to it, and we'll cook it until the cream cheese really kind of creates that sauce.
Absolutely.
It's going to pull all that blueberry flavor, all that moisture off the bottom of the pan, and we'll it'll be ready to kind of just wait until the peaches are broiled.
It's amazing how quick and easy this is to make too. That's something that, I mean, you just gotta let a little time for the blueberries to cook, kind of like Dugan said, open up, get the juices out there, and add the other blueberries. Great source of, by the way, antioxidants there with those blueberries. Add a little cream cheese, kind of get that nice creaminess there. As you can see, we were watching our portion sizes there with the amount of cream cheese we were adding versus sometimes when you have the whole block of cream cheese, it's really easy to add a little extra at a time. So by there, we're watching, you know, the amount of calories, fats that we're adding within this product. And then we're just going to incorporate that until it's kind of all smooth together. And you can see kind of it breaking down here. And it's very, very simplistic on how this can be made.
Oh, yeah.
With the sugar, you can use a sugar substitute if you want. Just be careful of some of the sugar substitutes that are out there. Some are a lot sweeter than others, so you might have to use less of it. So just be aware you can kind of substitute those.
What this cream cheese is going to do is give that, you know, it's going to balance the sweetness from the added sugar. It's going to pair really well with these blueberries. It's going to have that slight tang taste to it that you get, that you associate with cream cheese, and it's just going to go really well with everything here.
Absolutely. So. Blueberries and peaches, I mean, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great two fruits to put together.
So this is ready to go. So if you're not doing it on peaches, you could absolutely put this on any other type of dessert. Like if you had a yogurt, frozen yogurt or something like that, you've created a sauce that will go on anything. Angel food cake, pancakes.
Just instead of syrup, adding something like this on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, angel food cake would be delicious for that. Instead of adding that typical marshmallow kind of icing there that you would get on angel food cake, putting this on there, kind of decreasing some of those extra calories there, there.
Certainly.
And you get a fruit. That's the most important thing.
So what we're going to do here, we have, we're going to make a glaze because we are broiling these peaches. So our glaze is actually going to be a little bit of lemon juice, maybe 2 teaspoons or so, a little bit of sugar, not very much, some cornstarch. All you're going to do is mix it together. Break up that cornstarch. You can use a whisk. I'm using a spoon. That sugar is going to help with the sweetness. That cornstarch, once it gets heated up on top of those peaches, is going to make a really nice glaze, a really nice shine over top of them. But you can see here, it has that glaze look to it, that glaze consistency. And then they're just going to make sure you got all your sugar dissolved. And then we're just going to put them on top of our peaches here.
And if you can see, Dugan's going to the outside of it because some of that will end up going inside of it as well, but he's going to the outside flesh that will be hitting a lot of that boiler in there when it's in the oven.
Absolutely. Okay. So these are ready to go. Once the bread pudding finishes, we'll crank up the heat, get it up to a broil so we can put those peaches in, let them go for a little bit, pull them out, stuff them with our compote, and put them back in. It'll be really nice.
Really good.
All right, so bread pudding's done. Went ahead and turned the oven on broil to get it going. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out here and let it rest for a minute.
Absolutely. You can see the brown on top of the bread pudding. You can see some of those breads that are on top of there that will be a little bit crunchy versus the ones underneath that had more of the mixture in there.
Yep.
So it gives you a kind of idea of those apples even being cooked down, what it would look like for a final product.
That'd be great.
So we'll let that cool down before we try it. And like Dugan said, we're going to pop these peaches into the broiler there. The broiler is ready to go. We're going to put our peaches into the broiler for about 4 minutes. get them going, and we're gonna, Dugan's gonna cut up some nuts here to put on top as well.
Right. We've got some pistachios here, roasted, unsalted. They'd actually go really well in this bread pudding as well, but we're going to actually use them for the peaches. Just rough chopping them. They don't have to be real fine. But while we got time on our hands here, figured that'd be an easy time to do this.
Absolutely, and one nice thing about adding nuts, you're gonna add that different texture there.
Yeah.
You could use walnuts, you could use other almonds, you could do other nuts. Nice thing about pistachios, it's something different that you typically might not associate putting on there. Great little flavor too. So it's just gonna add that crunch there with everything else that's a little bit soft.
So that's our rough chop, and that'll be ready to go. Once those are done, for about 4 minutes, we'll add the compote. Go about another 3, and then pull them out. We'll be ready to serve. So it's been 4 minutes. Our peaches are starting to blister on the top there. You can see that glaze is really formed nicely on there.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead and sit those there. Next step, adding our compote. So our compote's thickened up really nicely. That cream cheese, that blueberry.
So it looks delicious already just looking at it. And I mean, again, I cannot explain, ways of making this into a healthy dessert. You're adding all these different fruits. So that's something when you're wanting to entertain, you could have your soup and salad, you can have your main dish, and then you can serve like stuff, like a cake or something that might be a little bit higher in calories. Here, let's get another food group incorporated in there. And the colors of it are pretty cool too.
Yes, they are. So if you are making this and you're not a huge sweets person, something you can do, you can add a little bit of lemon juice into that blueberry mixture to kind of combat that sweetness. So if you're afraid that it's going to be too sweet or you don't like blueberries, acids really help counterbalance that. So yeah, we're going to go another 3 minutes in the broiler, pull them out, and then we'll be ready to sample everything. All right, so it's been 3 minutes. Timer went off. You can see our blueberries are starting to
say those just look
form that
awesome
crust,
right there.
yeah.
A lot of really good presentation there for at the end. You will want to let this cool a little bit. I mean, that broiler has it hot.
Yeah.
So let it cool a little bit. Like Dugan here, he's going to be topping it with those pistachios, which is going to add a different kind of color and kind of topping there as well. I'm thinking even like toasted coconut would be good on this. Just other things you could add on top of that.
Fresh mint. Yeah.
Oh, fresh mint would be really good. I'm a coconut fan, so I just think that coconut with even the nuts would be nice, having that contrast there.
Absolutely.
So we'll let these cool off, clean up a little bit, come back, and we'll try them to kind of end our healthy desserts here. So we have our 2 desserts here ready to go. We have our bread pudding, and we have our boiled stuffed with blueberry compote peaches here. Nice long word there. Great healthy options to your recipe or for your meals when you want something that is heart healthy, friendly on the waistline when you're looking at desserts too. So it's just going to be a great option here. So we'll give these a try. And that peach just kind of breaks away nicely.
Yeah. Looks really hot.
I say some steam's coming off here.
Bread pudding's nice. Really good texture, especially on the top. And you really taste that clove. Cranberries give it that nice sweetness. The apples almost feel dehydrated, but they're so concentrated with flavor that it's really a nice textural contrast to everything. So really good on that.
Looks great. I say in the peaches, what I like about it is I bit into it, you get the crunch from the peanut, the pistachio there. You get that kind of really packed full sweetness from the blueberries. And then you get the softness from the peaches, but then it has kind of charred kind of, you know, boiled kind of grilled kind of aspect to there too, where you get that little char flavor on top, and it actually works really nicely together. So 2 great absolutely components here as options for you.
Sure.
Thank you for watching iHeart Cooking. We hope you enjoyed all these heart-healthy desserts that we prepared today.
For more heart-healthy recipes like you've seen today, visit reidhealth.org/iHeartCooking.
We'll see you next month.